Pinball machine video modes. It's not something we've discussed in any depth on this channel before, which is quite weird really because it's a pinball channel. I think it's not that I'm avoiding it, it's just not massively in my consciousness. I think if we play a game and we test a game out and we review a game for the first time, then we'll play the video mode and you'll see it on the video, but it's just that, it's a part of the game. There's no big deal to it. However, video mode is something that's sort of sprung into my consciousness on 2 occasions within the last few days for 2 very different reasons. The first reason was because, well, Star Wars, the Stern version of the game, appeared at the UK Open. Now, if you don't know, last weekend in this country, we were, well, it wasn't lucky, there was no luck was involved at all. Neil McRae put on a fantastic event with the help of loads of wonderful volunteers and Pinball Republic, which is London's premier pinball club, and they put on a fantastic event where a lot of the world's best players came over to London, and it was a hell of a show and it was a massive success. But in one of the competitions, Star Wars was used, and as I'm sure you will know, Star Wars has quite an interesting video mode. I'll just talk you through it. You are the Millennium Falcon and you are flying through an asteroid field. Now, you can increase the speed as you go through the asteroid field, but the idea is to not crash into an asteroid. You don't want to do that. Let's be fair, if you just bought yourself a brand new Millennium Falcon, the last thing you'd want to do is crash it into an asteroid. Now, as part of the mode, you can earn an awful lot of points if you've got your multipliers up on Star Wars. If you don't understand how Star Wars works on multipliers, I'll tell you briefly, you can get up to a 40 times multiplier on that game. And you can take it into video mode, so if you do that mode really well, you can blitz on the video mode everything you've done before on the playfield. Basically, the video mode, if done correctly, you can score higher than you've actually scored with a flipper and a ball. So basically, I think the accusation is that it's disproportionate. The rewards that the video mode gives you is disproportionate compared to what you should be doing basically with the flippers and the steel ball. That was one of the reasons. The second reason that it popped into my consciousness was Jack Danger has recently done a stream. It might have been on Twitch, it might have been on YouTube. I better find out because I'm going to post some of the footage from that in here. And it was a stream on Venom. Venom, of course, is Stern's latest release. Now, when it was looked at, it's received a little bit of criticism, let's put it that way, because it looks like quite a laboured video mode. And when I say a laboured video mode, I'm not going to pretend to know Venom. Actually, I think the game looks cool. Can I just say that? This game, I think, looks really cool. I think it looks great. I think the look of it, even the Pro looks beautiful. I know it's a bit more stripped down as you would expect to the premium and a limited edition, but I think it actually looks like a good game. It's probably too fast for me, and I have been stung by a fast Brian Eddy game before. If any of you have ever seen my video on, in fact, don't go and watch it. I'm going to do a new video on the top 50 on Stranger Things. Stranger Things is too fast for me, basically. So yeah, I think it looks a little bit too fast for me. However, I think the game looks pretty damn good. But within it is incorporated a video mode, and one of the characters stands in the middle of the screen and is getting attacked from either side. The idea is, using the flipper buttons, I can understand it, is to stop these bad guys who are getting closer and closer to you, and just defeat them, kill them, squish them, whatever it is. I think the accusation is that it's just too damn slow, and it detracts from the game. And I think, by and large, it's just not as fun as the game. So I think you could be playing the game, enjoying the flow, hitting the ramps, achieving multi-ball, progressing through the game. And I think it feels like the accusation is that maybe on this game, it stops you in your tracks and it forces you to play this video mode. Now, as somebody pointed out on the UK forum, which is Pinball Info, go and check it out if you haven't done so already. It's basically the UK version of Pinside. As someone's pointed out on there, you can actually, if you just want to, you can just die on the first person, and then you don't have to play this sort of elongated, long drawn out video mode. But it sort of got me thinking, really. And I'd be interested in your opinions on 2 things. Number 1, do we even need video modes anymore? And number 2, what is your favourite video mode? Because I don't think that we need these things anymore. And I'll tell you why. It doesn't matter how good you make a video mode on a game, it ain't going to be as good as something that you can get on your phone, on your smartphone. I've got a game on my smartphone. I don't even know. I don't know if you've ever played this little thing before. It's good. It's called Slither, and you're a worm and you go and eat some stuff. That makes it sound absolutely awful, but I like it. It's quite a good game. It's certainly better than anything you'll get on a pinball machine. And I think therein lies the problem. Compared to what you can get on even just a phone, never mind a console, the video modes on pinball machines are awful. They're crap. They're useless. They're terrible. I mean, if I don't know, if Grand Theft Auto in terms of gaming is up there, pinball video modes are sort of down there. Now, that doesn't mean we don't love them, but I do wonder if we love them for nostalgic value. So I'll give you a good example what I think is a good video mode, and that's Fishtails. I think Fishtails is a nice, neat little video mode, but actually compared to anything else, compared to any sort of game, be it an app on a phone or on a console, on Xbox or a PlayStation, it's awful, it's rubbish, it's a crap mode. However, back in 1990, whenever it was, 1, 2, 3, whenever Fishtails came out, when Mark Ritchie made this fantastic game, that video mode was cool. Back in the 90s, that was neat. You actually didn't mind your pinball machine, your pinball game, being interrupted by this video mode, because that was cool. I was quite happy to shoot some boats and shoot some jet skiers. That was absolutely fine. Because at the time it seemed modern, it seemed innovative, it seemed like the sort of natural progression and a thing to do. I think now they just look dated and awful, and I think certainly at the point where you've got these controllers and these joypads now, which I don't know how many buttons my Xbox controller's got. I think there's 6 shoulder buttons, probably another 4 on the main pad, 2 direction pads. The things that you can do on these games, you're just never going to be able to match with 2 flipper buttons. So I'm not sure why they're included on modern games. Although, just to be clear, I wouldn't have them. I wouldn't have them detracting from my old games. Keep them on there. I think it's great. But I just think, does it add anything to it? That doesn't mean I don't think that you can incorporate the screen into a mode. I think that works really, really well. I think a really good example are 2 of my most favourite games. Well, at the moment, my new favourite, if you like, which is Big Lebowski. There's a car chase on there. And what you have on the car chase are 2 cars, which is you are one of the cars and your opponent is the other. And every time you hit a loop, your car goes a bit faster and you sort of overtake the other one. But if you accidentally smash your car, then the other one overtakes. You are in a video mode, but you're using the pinball and the flippers to progress. The shots determine how that video mode goes. It'd be exactly the same with Deadpool. If you're in a fight with Sabretooth, if you want to punch and kick him, you have to hit the shots first in order to defeat him. So what's happening on the screen is tying in with what you're doing. I find it's just an interactive video mode. For me, certainly, I don't play. I play pinball. My job is on the internet. My job is doing this sort of thing. So the last thing I want to do personally is when I'm playing pinball is do a video mode. I want to get away from that. I love the analog aspects of playing pinball. That's what I love and that's what I enjoy. And certainly, if I'm going to go and play a video game, I'll go and play a specialised video game should I choose to do so. So I don't know why they incorporate these things and they put them in there. I just wonder if they maybe shoehorned it in because they thought they ought to. They thought it was the right thing to do. And I do wonder if they will, I don't know. There may be a load of people who just enjoy this, and that's why I'm interested to see this. I would suspect not everybody is going to agree with me. I suspect less than half will agree with me. So I tried to find a resource to let me know how popular video modes are, which is why I wanted to do this video, because the only thing I could find was a thread on Pinside. And it was somebody called Scoot, who was, I think it might have been 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago, this thread. He said, I'm interested to know what's the best video modes on a DMD pinball game. The first post I can see is somebody saying Lunar Lander on Apollo 13. Somebody else said Bram Stoker's Dracula, Fishtails are really good. He suggested the worst one running away. The title is Game of Thrones. I don't know. I couldn't honestly say. Somebody said the most difficult is Johnny Mnemonic. I think that, I mean, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? Is the difficulty level of a mode going to make it more interesting? I guess that's going to be... So I'm certainly watching that Jack Danger video on Venom. I don't think he completed the mode, but it seems to go on for a very, very long time. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I just want to play pinball, but I don't mind it on the WPC games. As I say, I thought Fishtails worked really well. Somebody else has said my personal favourite is Shoot the Dog. There's someone likes one of the Black Rose. Somebody likes Creech. There's a lot of people saying about the Shadow. But there's somebody on here who says, I like Congos, especially on the colour DMD. I think almost there's nothing worse. There's nothing... I can't think of a worse video mode off the top of my head than Congo. I love Congo. I've had it twice here and I would have it back again in a heartbeat. I love that game. It's one of my favourite games. I think it shoots fantastically well. Massively underrated game. However, it is ugly. The sound is terrible. It's got Jeremy Clarkson on the back glass and the video mode is awful. It feels repetitive. It was quite interesting. I'll often hear the word wood chopping used in conjunction with pinball, and I think it's used when I've heard it to describe a way to make progress on the playfield, but very much described with the flippers and the balls. However, there's an awful lot of video modes that are exactly that, and I found that Venom one precisely that. But at least that Venom one is better than Congo's. It's absolutely terrible. And when you are able to plot your way and find your way through, but there's a number of video modes where if you just remember the sequence, you can just go through it. So you're just going through the motions if you remember that sequence. There are a number of them. People are talking about Indiana Jones. Somebody said the best is Fishtails, the worst is Tommy. There's attack from... Do you know what? Attack from... I mean, I'm even struggling to think... Star Trek Next Generation is the one that springs to mind. Star Trek Next Generation, and I love that game as well, is awful because you just remember the sequence. Once you've remembered the sequence, you are just going through the motions. I'd rather be playing pinball than doing this. So I'd be really interested to know what you think about it. I do think a lot of those older WPC DMD video modes, I think they were right at the time. They had their place in the 90s. That was a cool thing. I think the video mode on the pinball machine was probably comparable with maybe the technology that was at the time. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. Everybody knows Outrun, right? That old classic arcade game, Outrun. Great game. You didn't mind, bearing in mind you were playing Outrun, you sort of didn't mind if you went into the video mode on High Speed 2, right? It was comparable. I know one of them was a sort of yellow DMD, but you get what I'm saying. There was something comparable to it. You wouldn't even go on anything like that if you wanted to play a car game. You'd be on Gran Turismo or whatever the latest one of that sort of genre of games is. Anyway, so there you go. Just my 2 pence worth, my tuppence worth, as I would say. It's video modes. I just don't think they have any place on modern games, but I understand I may well be well on my own in there. So I'll be very interested to know 2 things from you in the comments section, and then I'll make sure we do a follow-up video on this, which is your favourite DMD era video mode? For me, I think I haven't played them all, but Fishtails is hard to beat. It has to be said. And lastly, do you still want to see them? Do you still want to see them on modern day games? And as I say, I don't mean when it's incorporated with hitting the ball. I'm not including what Deadpool does or what Big Lebowski does. That's fine. That's hitting the ball and then making something happen on the screen. I mean when the ball goes dead, the playfield goes dead, and you are just pressing buttons to make that screen do something. I'd be interested to know if you would like to see more of that or not. Or maybe I'm just being a grumpy old bloke who's got too much time on his hands and has just managed to waffle for nearly 15 minutes about video modes on a pinball machine.